You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
Welcome to The Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change with your host, Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel. Listen as Aurora brings good news to an awakening world and sacred healing using powerful and transformational tools. So now, please welcome the host of The Oracle, Dr. Aurora Ariel.
Aloha and welcome to the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. I'm your host, Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we're broadcasting live across the planet on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'll be continuing this month's theme on the Great Awakening and its significance at this historic time. Our topic today is Global Enlightenment, a planetary awakening, global renaissance, and glorious future unveiled. And I have a very distinguished and illustrious guest who will be joining me in this conversation, Ashok Gangadeen, founder and director of the Global Dialogue Institute. I was very inspired by a quote from Ashok. It speaks eloquently to the significant and historic time we are in. He says, perhaps the single most powerful event facing humanity today is a great awakening on a planetary scale that has been millennia in the making. We humans, in the midst of a profound advance as a species to a higher form of global consciousness that has been emerging across cultures, religions, and worldviews through the centuries. This awakening of global consciousness is nothing less than a shift, a maturation from more egocentric patterns of life to a higher form of integral and dialogic pattern of life. His message and what he'll be sharing today corresponds with a vision I had as a teen, and this was a beginning of many visions. And it began with the earth, very dark. And all of a sudden, I was seeing pinpoints of light all over the planet. And then these pinpoints of light began being circles of light. And the circles of light began filling in, becoming patches of light, growing larger and larger until the whole planet was filled with light. This began keying me into something very profound was happening on this planet that I had been born into. And soon after, I was taken on a hypnosis journey, and I ended up right before this life. And it was so exciting to remember being in this school of the soul, I guess, a soul classroom. It was like a temple light, beautiful, amazing building that so many of us were in, and we're watching things on the screen that were keying us into the human world, bringing up human emotions, feelings, loving, compassion, caring. And it was this grand preparation. And afterwards, we were all excited because we were coming into the planet, all of us together at this time. It wasn't only going to be one of us that was going to be born into a century or a millennium to bring our wisdom and light. We would all be here together. And we knew it would be daunting. We knew it would be challenging. However, we knew that our saving grace would be in finding each other, seeing that there were so many of us at this time. And when we awakened to that, we would have peace and we would remember what we're about, what we were doing. And it's the first time I ever heard the word ascension. And I saw it more as a vision and the word ascending, that every year we would be ascending to a next level of conscious awareness. And we'd all be doing this together across the earth. And this was really amazing to see. And since that time, I have been seeing it come true. Year after year, I see that my friends, the people I know, the people I'm encountering, we're all on the next level. And something really, really special is taking place.
Joining conference
because we
now.
are doing it together. We're raising the whole vibration of the earth.
It's not very professional.
I was inspired by this writing. It's an excerpt from my Earth 2012 to 33 book, The Ultimate Quest, How to Find Peace in a World of Chaos. Something very wondrous is taking place. Even now we are beginning to see the first light of this new dawn. All that we have known is about to change. All that we thought we were is about to unravel. The world is going through a shift because a change is occurring within us. It is an inner transformation, powerful and profound. Incredible and spectacular, it is compelling the world to change around us. Because of its magnitude, the earth may never be the same. The time of the awakening is upon us. It is a promise that is being birthed within our hearts. It is a vision that sings in our souls. It is our longing for a better life, for a safe future that is our legacy to the precious children of the world. All of these amazing experiences I had in my teens brought me into having a planetary conscience, a caring, and a desire to do something more. And as I travel throughout the world, I find more and more people that have that similar equation going on, that feel impelled, compelled to bring something great to this world and to bring a vision and hope and to bring forth their unique offerings. When we get back from the break, I'll be bringing on Ashok, and he has such amazing insights for a more enlightened future, of a planetary shift that can bring us into a very beneficent and enlightened time. And I know many of you feel the same way, that we were born into a time of great change, and we are here to be that change, that through our own transfiguration, the deep healings we're undergoing, the awakenings, the advancement our souls are experiencing, we are helping change the whole field and bring our planet into an amazing new future, a future beyond what could ever be imagined, because we came and we are all doing this together. There's so much each one of us has to give to this world, so much that we came to give. And so it really is about remembering who we are and waking up so that those gifts, those talents, and so our abilities can really bring its special offering at this very historic time. And I know at the same time, many are feeling the challenges that we're all facing. And there are a lot of dire potentials and things happening on this earth. And yet we can have faith and trust that because we came, and because there's so many of us across the earth, and because we all have a similar vision, that we need not fall prey and fall under the weight of these planetary conditions. We can keep rising like phoenixes from the ashes of our human conditioning and keep expanding and becoming more and more of who we are every day and bring that beautiful blessing to the world. It's a great honor to introduce a truly remarkable man, Ashok Gangadeen, who is a living presence of all he teaches. Ashok is a professor of philosophy at Haverford College, founder and director of the Global Dialogue Institute, founder of the Logos Institute, and co-convener of the World Commission on Global Consciousness and Spirituality. Ashok's work is profound. He is such a deep and transcendent individual that brings his presence to the world in such an extraordinary way. He merges Eastern and Western philosophy into one of universal reason, taking humanity beyond duality into a unified philosophy. The author of several books, including Meditative Reason, Toward Universal Grammar, and Between Worlds, The Emergence of Global Reason. You can tune into his offerings at globaldialogueinstitute.org. So welcome, Ashok. It's such a great joy to have you on the show today.
Well, pleasure to be with you. Can you hear me all right now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, wonderful. It's a pleasure. Go ahead.
Well, it's just really a great joy to have you on the show, and I am so inspired by your work and the message you're bringing humanity at this time. So let's start with global enlightenment. So can you tell us in your words what that looks like to you, of what's happening right now on the planet and what we're in store for?
I shall be glad to share that. It's hard to know whether my voice is coming through with the technical difficulties, but I hope you're hearing me clearly. And so global enlightenment is actually a new term to coin, because the word global in philosophy and wisdom is a new frontier of pioneering the deep source of all of our wisdoms, all of our scriptures, all of our worldviews, ideologies, narratives that trace right back to the source of all. And we have enlightenment, Buddha's enlightenment, we have the great yogis, Lord Krishna with enlightenment, Zen enlightenment. There's a European enlightenment of the Descartes and the wisdom of reason coming back from Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. So enlightenment has many meanings, but it's been rather localized in the Greek enlightenment, yoga enlightenment, Zen enlightenment, Rumi enlightenment in the Islamic mystical tradition, and so forth. But they're all pointing to a deep common source that has not been adequately seen. So entering the global age of wisdom is having the capacity now in a new frontier to see that all of these great traditions and scriptures, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Buddha, Socrates, Lao Tzu, Krishna, all of these are tapping a common deep source. And the reason to see this in basic science is that all of these geniuses and great scriptures are seeing there must be a primal source, and it must be infinite. You cannot circumscribe it or try and put a boundary around it. If you do, you'll be in the ridiculous situation of having beyond the boundary, and so it's boundless, and therefore transfinite. It's not finite, it's transfinite, it's infinite. And if it's infinite, then the rest is history, because it's got to be global in the sense of all possible worlds, all possible ideologies, all narratives, all words. Every breath must be coming out of the infinite source. And that means you can't push it away in any way. It's infinitely here now. And so my work as a pioneer in global philosophy over the centuries, looking at these great traditions, is seeing that they're all resonating to a deep missing code of the source, the primal source. Buddha, when he awoken and saw in his enlightenment the source of human suffering, he saw it was traceable to an immature stage of our human development, an evil mental mindset and mind practice and motherboard of all our life. And he was calling that out to enter into the higher place. All of yoga, when Arjuna breaks down on the battlefield, Krishna is instructing in the technology of yoga, which is a rise into the higher state of Om. When Socrates is seeing that wisdom, the logos.
Wow. That's a lot, and we're going to be really delving more deeply into this, Ashok, and I can't wait to hear more of your vision for humanity, where we're going now, and this awakening that's happening up and through us, coming through us at this time. It's an incredible time to be alive because, as I said, in my visions and my memory of right before this life, we were all coming in together and going to undergo this global enlightenment, this ascension into who we truly are and move away from the human consciousness of who humanity has been and lost in for millennia of time. we're at that tipping point right now, and things are accelerating on both the light and dark side. So your vision, your insights are really important today and for our world, and your heart and desire to see us move into an enlightened future. The presence that you have is amazing, and so I'm going to get some of your secrets on how to be that living enlightened presence when we get back. This is the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change, and we're broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we'll be right back.
Have you been dreaming of that ideal getaway? A sacred adventure where you are completely restored and renewed. Join Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel for her Mastery Intensive Red Rock Adventure in Sedona in May, or the Oracle Sacred Destiny Cruise through the ancient temples of Italy, Greece, and Turkey in September. Want to know what to expect in the coming times? Read her award-winning Earth 2012 to 33 books. Sign up for her newsletter to stay abreast of all her offerings, healing specials, Earth 2012 to 33 updates, insights from the Oracle, secrets of eternal youth, and more at aurorajulianaariel.com. Ready to realize a greater potential? Experience her 33-day self-actualization programs, healing music for an awakening world, or healing activations available under products. Ready for a total life transformation? Sign up for her one-year program. Want a distance healing from Aurora? Check out her virtual healing center with its wide array of healing modalities and skilled healers under healing menu at sacredalchemy.com.
Welcome back to the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. We're broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel. I have a very amazing guest with us today, Ashok Gangadeen, and he was speaking to the global enlightenment and the great teachers and sages, those of great wisdom through time. And I want to hear more, Ashok, so can you please continue what you've been sharing with us?
Thank you, Aurora. Pleasure to be with you in this conversation. Yes, as I was saying in the first segment, the global enlightenment is a new frontier of enlightenment, because when we realize that all of our great teachings, scriptures, religions are all pointing to an infinite source, and this infinite source, whether we call it Yahweh or Allah or Buddha's Om, Shunyata, whatever name is used for the infinite Allah, they all must come together in the infinite unity. The missing unum, let's use the Latin word for infinite unity, which is infinitely diverse. And we don't seem to understand that. And it's all important for our survival as a species to enter the depths of the Logos, the Greek word for this, the Logos, the light of reason, the source of all possible worlds and narratives. And we're divided right now, Aurora, in a very centuries. We get the teachings of our great teachers and scriptures, but we download it to where we are in a more, rather adolescent space of information-based thinking and consciousness and self-making, culture-making, and we're not even aware of it. We have, so to speak, a motherboard, a mind-operating process that is adolescent in the sense that it's not yet open to the portal to presence, the infinite logos, to the infinite source of reality, where everything is deeply interflowed, interconnected. Buddha saw this, yoga saw this, the logos of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle saw this unifying force. And that's the state of humanity, where the I am, can connect with the I thou, the other, whether it's the infinite other or the infinite other person or persons, the nature of a species. That's the sacred I thou space of being a human, the logo sapien. But the ego sapien, so to speak, level of development is cut off in a law of identity, thinking it's a separate entity, and we don't realize that that practice of identity polarizes, fragments, breaks apart our worlds, our consciousness, our psyche, ourselves, our relationships, and everything about it. And it really is quite a tragic situation to be living under the dominance of this ego-mental smotherboard, because it smothers us from source, which is a field of reality itself.
Yes, very much. I mean, this is what we came into. We came into the dark ages, really, on this planet, we were getting technological advances, and yet humanity was still staying in their little sects. They were still warring, fighting. My religion's better than your religion. I am the one that has the true God. You are the infidels. And we're seeing it to this day. And yet something that is so amazing in this equation, because this has been going on for millennia. This has been creating war after war and dissension and all of the Holocausts and things, the genocides that have taken place until now. Until now, we see these things ongoing as a backdrop on this of our planetary equation. And yet what I'm seeing in the forefront now is all these souls who came to Earth to make a difference, to turn the tide on these dire potentials and bring humanity into a more enlightened world. And one of the most significant qualities or signatures to these people that I actually call the violet people, and because they're so focused on personal and planetary transformation, that high violet ray, high vibrational activity, what I've noticed with the violets is that they are universal. They are connected. They are appreciative of other people's viewpoint and other people's religion, spiritual, enlightened path. And so let's speak to that a little bit, to the remedy here of moving away from being separate and against and into a more cooperation and a respect of all the teachings in the world, all the great leaders, and those threads of truth that are just so similar and universal in each one. Can you speak to that, Ashok, and what you're seeing across the board?
Well, it's well said, Aurora. I mean, what you call the violets, arising humans, put in my language, for logos, the Greek name for the infinite force, which is also the what do you call it, Yahweh, Om, Tao, Allah, whatever name you use. And that is not tribal. The tribalism is being under the sway of a motherboard, a mind operating process of me and I, and separating the I and the other. That's the I, it. When we informationize the script, the language, the consciousness, our culture, it creates objectification of self and other. And then we objectify, and that's what information does. It makes content and objects and entities. When we do that to the other, that's when we're in the tribal space, the divisive space, the polarized space. And what you point out beautifully is that culture for millennia has been under the tragedy of ethnic cleansing and Holocaust and genocide and divorces and breakdowns of human relations, slashing out children with this technology. And so, yes, what the violets put in this language are logos sapiens. We are I, thou humans. Persons are not objects in the box of content and information, tribalized. Because God or Allah or logos or Tao is not tribal. It's global for all parts of the world. That's a place of deep dialogue. We're dialogue sapiens. That means we listen deeply with our hearts to God. That is non-violence.
Yes, exactly. And we've got to run to break, and I want to hear more. And we're going to be dialoguing on this incredible topic and hoping inspire you all to live in a more unity consciousness. So we are broadcasting live on BBM Global Network. This is The Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change, and I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel. We'll be back in a minute.
Have you been dreaming of that ideal getaway? A sacred adventure where you are completely restored and renewed. Join Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel for her Mastery Intensive Red Rock Adventure in Sedona in May, or the Oracle Sacred Destiny Cruise through the ancient temples of Italy, Greece, and Turkey in September. Want to know what to expect in the coming times? Read her award-winning Earth 2012-33 books. Sign up for her newsletter to stay abreast of all her offerings, healing specials, Earth 2012-33 updates, insights from the Oracle, secrets of eternal youth, and more at aurorajulianaariel.com. Ready to realize a greater potential? Experience her 33-day self-actualization programs, healing music for an awakening world, or healing activations available under products. Ready for a total life transformation? Sign up for her one-year program. Want a distance healing from Aurora? Check out her virtual healing center with its wide array of healing modalities and skilled healers under Healing menu at sacredalchemy.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. We're broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel. We're speaking with Ashok Gangadeen and his amazing insights into the dilemma of our present planetary condition and this equation going on that's gone on for centuries and millennia. And now we want to hear some of the answers. How can we live more enlightened lives? How can we move beyond this objectification you've been speaking to and into a more universal connectedness, cooperation? What have you brought to the planetary equation in your teachings, your insights, and when you're on global forums? What is the message of the change that we could make right now and all of us make a difference?
One of the greatest things from our prior segment is that we don't understand how deep monologue is when people are speaking to each other across borders, and we all have borders, ideologies, religions, worldviews, disciplines, whatever it may be. We don't realize we have a lens of the mind that is shaping everything we see and say and how we see the other. And when you think we're speaking with the other across borders, we're usually in monologue. That means I'm seeing the other from my lens and not able to dilate my lens and enter into a deep dialogue. I've introduced a term 2 decades ago called deep dialogue. That's when you have to dilate your lens and realize, hey, if I'm a believing Christian or Muslim or a scientist, whatever the world view, that if I listen to the other from that point of view, I'm monologuing him or her, the other. And the key to what we're talking about to overcome violence and not slash the other across borders is the capacity to dilate our lens, our hearts, our minds, our worldview, our belief system, to listen truly and openly to the voice of the other. That's a space of deep dialogue. So a Christian can listen to a Muslim can listen to a Hindu can listen to a scientist, and so forth, and truly hear the other in her voice. And that's deep dialogue. And really, it comes down to what is the prescription of all of our great teachings and teachers across the ages to actually go from monologue to dialogue. And Jesus' version, when he was saying and teaching to his disciples to begin with, who were in monologue, saying weird things like, I am the way, I am the truth. And John says, in the beginning is the Logos, and the Logos became flesh. That is all speaking about this higher source life, the source, that's the infinite connection of I now. And Jesus, for example, said, when I was in prison, he visited me. When I was hungry, he fed me. He was illustrating the I thou principle that we are all interflow, interconnected. We can't draw boundaries across the humanized sacred space of life, of being a human. Buddha saw that when we recognize that the motherboard is cutting us off and cutting us up and causing suffering, his prescription of the Four Noble Truths was to live mindful life, be heads up, and rehabilitate our motherboard from a slashing, violent, objectifying, atomizing motherboard to a flow, open, interconnected, where all things are in compassion in the Buddha Dharma, the Buddha law. These are illustrations. All of yoga is moving where Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna to learn the language of Om, to awaken and enter into the union and communion of life and flow. That is the technology of the I Thou. So this principle is the heart of reason and ethics and being human, where we become full person together across borders. And that overcomes the tribalism. So moving into deep dialogue and rehabilitating our hearts and minds into deeper cultural patterns where we do not objectify one another and reduce the higher source word and codes to our information, dominance, and obsession. That is the key to rehabilitating higher culture of nonviolence.
That is so beautiful. Yeah. So love is the key to listen to others, to care about what they're saying and to find common ground, to really see what might be true for us in a very different persuasion or religious ideology or, way of life. The one thing I have noticed about the violets is that they're so universal. So that if you go to their homes, many times you'll see a beautiful altar and it will have, picture of Krishna and then Mother Mary and maybe Buddha. There seems to be this universality in awakening souls, that soul group today that are the ones that are the forerunners, that are helping lead humanity in this more enlightened time. And so what I see is that there's a love for other cultures. There is a delving deeply into all the different religions of the world. There's drawing from those religions, the teachings that resonate with them, and they seem to be weaving them all together in this universal ideology. That's a new way. It kind of draws everything from the world, the best of everything, and puts it all together. And so many souls worldwide today are enjoying that. They're enjoying basking in the presence of Mother Mary and doing Buddhist chants and different meditations and really drawing the richness from the cultures around the world, from the ancient histories and sites, as well as from the religious and philosophical texts. And this is quite unprecedented because I don't know if there's any other history where this was going on. Do you know, Ashok, do you know of a history where people had this more universal ideology? I don't know if the golden age of Greece, bringing two cultures together, or if we've really seen this before on the planet.
I have questions about that. I mean, I think what you're saying is beautiful, that there are humans now that are awakening, and they are open to different pathways and scriptures and teachings and value and treasure them. But there's a danger of being just syncretic. Syncretic means I take a little bit of Zen, a little bit of Sufi, a little bit of Christ, a little bit of Socrates. They all resonate. But there's a deep science here. And this is what I think is new and unprecedented as we move into the 21st century in our evolutionary journey. That there's the science behind this. It's not that we can say it all sounds good, but it truly has a scientific ground and source. And it comes down to the infinite unifying force of the infinite source. We don't seem to have gotten that sufficiently. I use the Latin word unum for infinite unity. But from the ground floor of reality, it is infinite. Once we see that, it must be infinitely unified. You can't divide it. That means it's a source, a common source. When you say common ground, foundation, that's powerful. It means all our scriptures, worldviews, all of our lives, all of our worldviews, every breath we take is coming from that common unum power. And we haven't seen that sufficiently. So there's deep science to the joy we have in celebrating diverse worlds across borders. We can do that in a kind of syncretic, cherry-picking way, or we can now do it in a scientific way where we see the deepest law of the universe of science is interconnectivity and deep dialogue. And this is the key to our future and survival on the planet now.
Thank you so much. That's profound, and we're going to be exploring more of this and the how of the Enlightenment, the way, the path, the truth, the life. So we are on the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change, broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we'll be back in a minute, and we're going to be speaking more on this amazing topic. Welcome back to the Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we're broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. So you've started talking about that unifying field and how important it is for all of us to get back to that source. And I want to hear more about this and also your insights of how people can come into that state of oneness, that enlightenment. Can you give us your formula, your insights on how this can be done?
I would be glad to echo the great insights of our brilliant, ingenious teachers through the ages. And if you take Buddha, for example, or When Buddha saw the depth of human suffering, existential suffering, because we were de-sourced, we were cut off from reality, from the source field and source code, and living in ego mental patterns that breaks us apart and creates deep existential suffering. His prescription, the how-to, was the ego mind cannot do it on its own terms. You have to find powerful medical ways to let go of the ego, which means the ego is symptom of the motherboard, the mind operating, information-based, objectifying way that dominates our evolutionary journey, which is the source, the medical source of our suffering. So the question, how do we let go of the deep implant of a mind operating process that most of us never see in our lifetime and live under the dominance of that technology that is the source of suffering? It's a deep issue medically, and Buddha's prescription was practice 24/7 mindfulness, being heads up, being attentive to the moment, to break the barrier of the ego mental space. This is what Lord Krishna is also teaching Arjuna, that you have to really call out your motherboard, which is keeping you in samsara, the endless cycle of suffering. How do you do something that deep? What is the how-to? That's yoga, practicing letting go of the ego mental technology of consciousness. It's like a caterpillar becoming a Buddha fly, a caterpillar, an ego pillar, so to speak, metaphorically, that is using one technology that's harming and breaking and fragmenting, to let that go and evolve into the source, which is the Om. Jesus was teaching the how-to, because in the biblical tradition, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and into Muhammad, that's all one a continuing tradition. Sin is the condition medically of being cut off from the source, and you die from that. The wage of sin is death. And the prescription is you've got to almost die to that ID, that identity, that false addicted identity, to rise into the Christ, to rise into the Allah, rise into what Rumi's calling. When Rumi, as a mystic of Islam, is saying there's a field beyond separation and judgment and belief systems, I'll meet you there. That is the source. So the how-to questions comes down to calling out and becoming aware of the motherboard, so to speak, that's deeply implanted in our cultural codes that tribalize and breaks apart and localizes, and to let that go, to move into the source code, the source science, where we know that everything is in interflow, interconnected. And when we do that, that's when we become moral beings. Because I now can see myself in the other, and the other in me, and I in nature, and I in my entire ecology is interwoven. When you actually live and experience that, that's when you become a mature lover sentient. And that's a journey of cultural evolution. Our democracy, for example, say in the American scene, is in kind of shambles and fragmented. We haven't yet entered we the people. And the reason is medically we can't do that with the dominant of monologue. It takes deep dialogue to hold a we, one nation, undivided, indivisible, in the source, in the logos. We haven't yet arrived there, and we're still on a journey to opening up and civilizing the nonviolent American space of life, liberty, and freedom.
Wow, beautiful. That is so amazing and inspiring, because what I hear you saying is it really is through coming into that unified field within us, returning to the source of who we are, the truth of who we are. And when we do that, when we step free of what you call the smotherboard and I call the human programs, when we accomplish incrementally and step by step, we're being in what I call the authentic self, the truth of who we are, that the sages, the saints, these illumined ones before us attained. And so as we come into that illumined presence, then we are united, we are connected, we are listening, we are all moving together under a greater, higher divine plan for the beneficence of all. And how amazing it would be for our countries and nations to be run by people in their authentic selves, drawing from the source, being in unity, cooperation, consideration of others, and everyone working towards this greater plan in a more illumined future. I've seen that with the Violets, with this Awakening Soul group I've been cataloging, there is a mass exodus going on away from the more rote aspects of religions, as well as rigid mindsets and belief systems. And not only that, there's a lot of people rolling up their sleeves today and doing inner work to heal and transform those shadow aspects. I call them, you call them the programs in this motherboard, to move us away from and free of this programming, this human conditioning that has kept everybody in a state of againstness and unconsciousness and lack and not truly coming into their full potentials. And now that's being changed on the planet, and it is really quite exciting. In this last part that you'll be with us, Ashok, before the conclusion, I remember you saying in your recent workshop that each of us must find our own passport to enlightenment. We must be on our own unique journey, that following what others have done up until now isn't really going to cut it, because we each need to extricate ourselves and choose not to live in those human programs anymore so that we can be in that higher state of consciousness. Do you have any special things to say about that, or any keys to your ideas of how best people can follow their own self, that own inner calling?
Right, and what you say about the violet, so to speak, I call the Logo Sapiens, those who are awakening and beginning to tune into the genuine access to the source, which is what? It is saying, I am. And no one can say I am for us. Each of us must say I am. That's when you become a mature Logo Sapien human agent, and your agency is your freedom, and that's your passport. Your password is what I say. Everyone has a unique password or code into the infinite code, because each of us is a unique miracle, and it's not just a generic code. I mean, the bottom line is, once we find our way, we find ourselves deeply interwoven and interconnected in the space of compassion. So that really is the journey of global enlightenment, and it's time for enlightenment for all the people. It's our birthright. It's a democratization of enlightenment, because that's who we are as Logo Sapiens.
Thank you so much, Ashok, and thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I have loved your presence and your message and your insights for humanity at this time. We are listening to The Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change, broadcasting live on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, and I'm your host, Aurora Juliana Ariel. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Are you stressed? Is your stress driving you crazy? Do you know there are many ways to relieve the stress? The Spirit Within Massage and Hypnosis Clinic does just that, reduce your stress plus so much more. Established in 1997, the Spirit Within Massage and Hypnosis Clinic offers an approach to wellness for those individuals who choose to either utilize appropriate complementary methods to enhance their current medical care, or to those individuals who are on their personal journey toward improved health and wellness through the use of therapeutic bodywork, Reiki energy healing, or hypnosis. The Spirit Within Massage and Hypnosis Clinic is owned by Dr. Judy Dean, a registered nurse and board-certified massage therapist and medical hypnotherapist in LaPorte, Indiana. Visit www.spiritwithinmassage-hypnosis.com to see all services offered by Dr. Judy. For a free personal consultation, please call Dr. Judy Dean at 219-326-1380. The Spirit Within Massage and Hypnosis Clinic, 219-326-1380.
Welcome back to The Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. I'm your host, Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we're broadcasting live across the planet on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We've had a fantastic conversation with Ashok Gangadeen, founder and director of the Global Dialogue Institute. If you want to find out more about what he's doing and his incredible offerings, go to globaldialogueinstitute.org. The insights he's had about this motherboard and what I call the human programs is so essential that we all face this in ourselves and do what we can use whatever tools that we feel inspired to use to extricate ourselves from these programs. They're like viruses in the human computer system, and forever humanity has lived out of them. And so that has been the greatest dilemma I have found from my pioneering work in the psyche. Years and years of delving deeply into soul matters, you could say, as psyche is the soul, and why people on this planet are not actualizing a higher potential. Why are we seeing all these archaic systems? Why are there wars and genocides? When the Violets came in, this awakening soul group I've been speaking to in this conversation, we came into a world that just seemed very dark and archaic, and we could not relate, because when you are in your higher nature, these things do not take place. We're not raping and pillaging, and we're not being unconscious and making a lot of messes on the earth, creating wars, dissension, againstness, polluting. There's a consciousness that Ashok's called us to today, a global enlightenment, to be in our authentic selves, to be connected with our source, and to be acting from that high conscious state that is loving, that is benevolent, that looks at these things that have been done on this planet, and it can't relate because that was from the human conditions. That was from the programming. That was from all these patterns and beliefs. It's really time for us to leave now and say goodbye to, and step free into the illumined self, the indwelling spirit, the source field, and live from that illumined way of being. And we must, because the earth is still facing so many dire potentials, and there's still so much that we need to clean up and take care of. And there are people suffering that we need to support to have better lives. And we can do it because we are many. We are actually millions of us across the earth who are awakening. We're undergoing this incredible transfiguration into our true authentic selves, into the truth of who we are. We're remembering, and we're bringing forth our unique talents and gifts to add into this beautiful planetary equation, a time of great global awakening, a great renaissance taking place on Earth today that is flooding us all with the most amazing architecture and new archetypes and programs, inventions, remedies, cures, music, art. Everything we need is here for us now. And most importantly, the indwelling spirit within us is the best guide, the best compass we could ever have on our unique journeys to enlightenment. To fully awaken now is the prevailing theme on the planet, the most strongest momentum and trend taking place on Earth today. And I know all of you are in it with us, or you would really have held in there for this conversation. And it's just so exciting when we link up across the planet and we see how many there are of us who care, who came to make a difference, and who took on these human programs so we could heal them for the last time, set them to rest, set the old histories to rest, and create a whole new world, a more glorious future than ever could be imagined, where everyone has plenty and we're prospering under a beautiful golden age of light. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. You've been listening to The Oracle, a voice of positive planetary change. I'm your host, Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel, and we're broadcasting live across the planet on BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Next week, another amazing guest, and we will keep dovetailing on these incredible topics of our present planetary equation and how you can make a difference to this world. Blessings to all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
This has been The Oracle with your host, Dr. Aurora Juliana Ariel. Come join us and listen each week for conscious shifting and a deep and greater awareness on Dr. Aurora Ariel's The Oracle.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.